Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Vested Summit 2021. Yes, the world's largest conscious tech summit. We're in the midst of an awesome evening. We've got a few different themes that we're working through: technology, investment, success stories, global ecosystem, and consciousness. So we're in our second in a row panel on investment success stories. This panel discussion is about the Cairo Angels. So we're really excited to have a few guests here to continue this theme of really collective intelligence and sharing personal and professional insights and experiences with the world and with each other. So collectively, we can find new ways to invest really and to bring good innovations to the planet. So I just want to share a few notes before we get started. Everyone out there watching, you've got a few different mediums and formats. You can check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Please help us interact there. Ask questions, leave inspiring comments. We're going to be around to answer them. We want to interact with everyone. And then also, if any of the audience members would like to join some of the speakers after the talk, please leave a message in one of those mediums, just giving a shout out to the amazing people who are helping us organize and put on the events tonight. So without further ado, I'm just going to introduce our panel and our moderator tonight. Please forgive me if I do not do your names justice. Sometimes I struggle. So we have Sherine Abdelbaki as our moderator, Abdelrahman Edris, and we have Salma Al-Barkuki. I'm sorry, you'll have to. Why don't you guys? Yeah, please introduce yourselves, and please have a most wonderful time adding to the wonderful stream we have about all of our experiences. Everyone is really grateful to hear these kinds of conversations. So you're much appreciated for coming out here live and sharing. So take it away, Sherine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brett. That was a great introduction. Thank you. So happy to be again here at Vested Summit and the amazing team of Scale Up Ventures behind this whole event. And we're happy to be discussing success stories as part of the investment track. So I'd like to introduce our speakers on the panel tonight: Abdelrahman Edris of Cairo Angels and Salma Al-Barkuki of Fatura, one of the Cairo Angels investment and success stories. Hello.
Hey, Sherine.
How are you?
Hi, Sherine.
So let's start with Abdelrahman as investment officer at Cairo Angels. Cairo Angels is one of the first and few in the sector who are bringing together angel investors, independent and individual angel investors in Cairo, Egypt, and they've expanded to the region in 2 other locations as well. Abdelrahman, if you'd like to shed some light on your experience and your outlook, how 2021 has fared out, and before we start to discuss with Salma as one of your projects.
Sure. So I'm lucky to have been with Cairo Angels for 2 years, and over the past 2 years, I've seen a lot. I've learned a lot, and I've seen how the investment landscape has changed so much over the past 2 years. It's become way more dynamic. Egypt is certainly on the global stage right now, and we're so lucky that Cairo Angels is very much entrenched within the ecosystem. So we get access to great deals such as Faturas, and I get to work with a lot of angels, yourself included, of course, Sherine, who are industry experts who teach us so much and give us access to these great startups. So I'm very privileged to be working there and to be in the position I'm in, to be honest.
That's great. We'll come back to you with a lot more questions, but let's get Salma of Fatura talking. Salma, tell us, Fatura, after 2 years, has reached already what you call gross merchandise value. It's not a term that everybody's familiar with, of 100 million US. As a Cairo Angels portfolio company, we'd like to know more about what is Fatura, what does it do? It's a B2B digital lending platform. Can you tell us what does that mean exactly, and how do you operate?
Yeah, sure. So, Fatura, we started in December 2019, so exactly 2 years ago now. We started off as a digital, as an e-marketplace, a B2B marketplace, basically, where we connect the wholesalers and the manufacturers with the retailers in the FMCG industry in Egypt. And then we started adding the digital lending layer or the buy now, pay later layer to enable the digitizing the full cycle with the fintech included, with the fintech aspect of it. So basically, in those 2 years, we have onboarded more than 600 suppliers, wholesalers, and manufacturers who sell to more than 30,000 active retailers, be it kiosks, grocery stores, or such. On the app, they deal. We managed to cover 22 out of the 27 governorates of Egypt, and we currently have more than 10,000 SKUs or different unique products listed on the app, of which 8,000 alone were sold last month. And as you mentioned, the gross merchandising value or the total amount of trade that has been going on between the suppliers and the retailers on the app has basically, we now crossed the 120 million annualized GMP, as in $120 million annualized GMP. So,
Congratulations. I want to stop you there for a minute.
yeah,
So,
no, yeah.
what other players in the market are your competitors, or how many? We don't have to name names, but how many are doing the same?
So that space, you find a lot of players in that space, and basically there are two different models in the market. You'd find either those who chose to be another mega wholesaler or a digitized e-wholesaler, basically purchasing in bulk from the companies or manufacturers and selling directly to retailers, of which there are multiple players, more than three players actually in that space. And then those who chose to be asset light in the sense of an enabler to the whole marketplace, where we basically onboard both the suppliers and the retailers, and then basically the trade happens. This is basically us and another competitor actually in that space. But yeah, so that's how we define the space in general. And in reality, you actually have those two choices, and this is why we chose to start in this particular model. Um, uh, Particularly because of the impact part as well, because we started off in December 2019, right? So we saw COVID, and we saw the effect of COVID on the economy at large, and we were left with two choices. It's either we leverage our own privilege of whether it's education or access to technology or such, and then become a mega wholesalers ourselves, or we become the digital arm for the different wholesalers who actually have the warehouses, who actually have the fleet, who actually have the business as usual, but they lack this tech aspect. And this is the route we actually chose to go with, to enable the different players actually. So yeah.
That's fantastic. That's a great achievement, and I congratulate you. And so, do you find that the market, you're not absorbing, but you're giving the needs, adhering to all the needs in the market, or there's still a lot of space, in your opinion? You and
I
the
mean,
other player.
yeah. There's definitely still a lot of space in general, because I mean, we did what we did in less than 2 years, right? But we still have a long way to go, because in reality, what we're doing in essence is that we're bringing the B2B trade online. And once we have this whole fragmented, very diverse cycle with all those different players, once we have them online, we actually, it's the foundation, right? This is the foundation of which all the services start to be built upon. So every one of those players have a lot of needs that need to be satisfied, and this is the objective in the next phase. It's basically, after onboarding them, we have to make sure that we keep on adding the services for us to stay relevant and to stay useful, but also for the market and for the benefits of each player. So this is what we actually started to do by adding the buy now pay later layer for the retailers, and then we have plans for the wholesalers as well. We have plans for the manufacturers as well. So I mean, you just keep on building more and more layers, but the foundation still remains the same, which is the marketplace.
Thank you. Abdelrahman, you want to tell us about your experience with Fatura, or
Absolutely.
what was the spark that led to onboarding them, and then we move on from there.
Sure. I mean, first time I spoke to Hossam and Anwar and just got to know them and got to know what they were building. Obviously, at an early stage, something very important is, of course, the market, the product, their business model, but the team itself were incredible. I had the privilege of meeting them. I think it was 2 months after they started in February of 2020, so a month before COVID. And I think the hockey stick, as they say, the trajectory had already started. They were already moving so rapidly. And our deal wasn't actually finalized till after Corona, but something that really gravitated us towards them and wanting to invest is the fact that, like Salma said, they really focused on being enablers and trying to help wholesalers in such a fragmented market instead of taking the heavy asset approach and what we thought was a less scalable model actually and very capital intensive in trying to become a mega wholesaler. They took that enabler method, which we thought, of course, said something about the founders, that they were trying to really support the wholesalers in a time that was pretty hard on everyone, which was obviously due to the pandemic. So after speaking to them a couple times and doing our own internal DD, we were sold, and we're very lucky we joined and we invested, because I think our investment is up to 23x now in terms of multiple. So I think it's a great investment, and I was lucky for it to be the first deal I actually worked on at Cairo Angels. So it was a great way for me to start.
That's terrific. What lovely news. So the reason I was asking what was the spark, and I was just asking now Fatura's Salma about the space in the market, and that they've been around for 2 years and two of the most difficult years, but for your sector it seemed that it was actually an opportunity. So where do you see, I'm not going to ask you about the challenges now, we come back to it, but where do you see the next step? How do you see expansion? That's one question. But before that, you're saying you're working with 22 out of all the governorates in Egypt. How has it been for you working with wholesalers in terms of, is it a matter of I've got my internet connection working and my mobile and that's it? Or is there a language barrier? Do you do a customized fit for each, user? Why don't you tell us a bit more about your experience and growing your concept?
Sure. So, I mean, funny enough, our first ever version of the app failed miserably because it was designed in a way that would suit us. We had assumptions on what would seem logical and what would seem as a proper e-commerce experience, and then it actually it wasn't functional. It wasn't usable for most of our targets, whether the retailers or the wholesalers. And that, I think, was the very first lesson we had to learn, is that we needed to co-create every product that we have with the relevant stakeholder. So the
Wow.
retailer, yeah. So for the retailers, we actually co-created the app with them in a way where we were testing every single feature to make sure that on their own they can figure out the flow on their own. They would make it all the way from adding a product to actually checking out the whole cart and such. Same way with the wholesalers. The app and the products would needed to be designed in a way where they would be able to use it, because the other alternative for them is the pen and paper. So a simplified user experience was a must. It wasn't a privilege. It wasn't a nice to have. It was a must have feature for our product. So to address this, basically every single thing we do, we have an awesome product team at Fatura, and this product team is actually spending days and days at the wholesalers in their warehouses, and they're spending days and days in the kiosks with the retailers, and we have a lot of focus groups. So
So there was
co-create
no educational process in the onboarding for users.
100%. So we actually have that, and we also call ourselves a grassroots organization because we have more than 150, actually more than 180 agent, well, part of our expansion team on the ground. So they spend around 20 minutes, for example, more or less with each retailer, on which they onboard them on basically how to use the app, the tips and tricks to using the app, making sure that they understand what Fatura is, what's in it for them, how to do everything on their own. So yeah, we have to use a lot of tools. We have a call center that's available 24/7 to support the retailers whenever they need it.
And it's all about fine tuning or customizing. And you've shifted your approach so that you're more user friendly. You've done it in a way from the beginning from your perspective, but you had to go down, like you said, grassroots or on the ground and make sure that it fits the people who will be using it. That was the shift that happened in the beginning.
100%. So yeah, it's not so much as a language barrier as you mentioned, as much as we can't assume that our target market have been using, for example, Amazon or shopping online. So what would seem intuitive to you isn't really for them. So we had to shift the whole focus, and we have to co-create the products, communicate the features using multiple channels. Like we always have open communication channels with every of our stakeholders.
Terrific. So how do you see the expansion?
I mean, it's very exciting.
Or what's your next level, do you think?
I mean, the model and the business we do at Fatura is very exciting because you can grow in multiple dimensions. So we actually have a growth structure that we have to comply by, otherwise you'd find us all over the place. And basically, in the simplest forms, we're either growing vertically, where we're as I mentioned before, we're adding multiple services or other new verticals to each and every one of the stakeholders. So, for example, having an inventory management system for the wholesalers, so that it actually helps them with their own stocking, and it also helps us back office with basically the orders and the fulfillments and such. The buy now, pay later.
The more organized that is, the faster it is for you, the faster everything happens.
Exactly. And it goes back to us really supporting them. It's I need to support everyone in the whole in the value chain to perform better. And if they perform better, then the marketplace in itself will be more efficient. And by digitizing the marketplace and bringing it online, then it will all reflect through Fatura. So the verticals are actually unlimited. If we're talking about buy now, pay later, or financing in general, integration with multiple players. Because one other thing is that our model enables for a lot of partnership. At the end of the day, we're more like an infrastructure platform. So we can onboard whoever we want. Like we can onboard logistics providers, we can onboard digital payment providers. So in reality, we have a lot of verticals, but growth also can be horizontal. And that's what we've been working on as well. By replicating this model in other industries and in other countries, this is how we call it. This is how we see the horizontal growth. We already started on the industries level, and we have pilots in multiple industries right now, but they're all still in the pilot phase, so nothing really have been formalized yet. And we have other countries that are planned as well.
That's terrific.
Thank you.
Do you consider collaborations? Would you in this growth process?
Yeah, sure, 100%. I mean, as I mentioned, that's the whole objective of our model. It's onboarding whoever is a player, or onboarding the different stakeholders, and then basically we can collaborate somehow. So for the logistics, for example, it's not like I'm going to do the logistics myself. I can partner with a logistics provider that will be probably much more efficient because they're more focused and more specialized in doing this, correct? When it comes to payment, there are already multiple payment gateway providers or digital payment providers in general. So partnership is really at the core of what we do.
That's fantastic. I'm already have an idea boiling in mind. I think I'm going to I'm going to send Bye.
Awesome.
So, Abdelrahman, would you like to tell us a bit more how Fatura's success story has matured or developed through Cairo Angels, and give us a little bit more about what was. I mean, you already explained that this was your first and it's already a positive experience. So we'd like to hear a bit more from you about the process.
So I think when we first started, Fatura were raising a smaller ticket than they were, and when they came into our network, I think that round sort of exploded as soon as they gained some exposure through our network. Many more people were interested on coming into the deal, and they ended up raising a larger amount that really helped fuel their growth and led to an even better bridge round, and is hopefully also priming them for an incredible Series A. So I guess that's a value add to Fatura from our network. In terms of like what good came for Cairo Angels, a lot actually. The fact that we were able to jump in on such a good deal early on um, gave us a bit of exposure to even better startups, and yeah. So I think the benefits came both ways for us.
Would you say that the attraction in for Fatura was the concept or the team or both, or which came first, or
Both.
just
I
the
think
opportunity and they happen
I
to be
think
a good team?
I think you know how shrewd and intricate our investors can be. So they really grilled Fatura, and in our DD report was very extensive. We really looked at their monetization, and because that was a key question for us at the get go, and it's something they addressed very well, and how clear their monetization route is going to be as they move forward. And also, what really attracted us to them was because I think at the time there were other players, but I think Fatura's technology and their technology aspect, and the fact that their approach was much more asset light. So to us, it just seemed way more scalable. Is what really sold us.
That's great. So, as tips and hints, what you would like to share with other startups who are whether at a starting stage or a more mature level, what would you say would be the key or one of the formula elements that they should look out for or not lose sight of?
Um, I screen dozens of applications a week, and honestly, the thing that always stands out to me, early stage investors always like to see a clear business model strategy. You have to be a confident founder. You have to be susceptible to good constructive criticism and feedback. You also really have to demonstrate that you understand the market in which you're operating in and how you intend to grab a share of that market. And that's something the founding team of Futura made incredibly abundant to us. It was so clear that they understood the market they are operating in extremely well, how there's an issue and where the fragmentation is, and how their product intends to solve that, and how they're going to monetize through that. And I think that's what sets apart really the good founders and the good startups from the others who are just a bit lacking, maybe a bit wishy-washy. They see a good opportunity. Oh, this is a hot sector, so I'm gonna try and build a product there, or try and do something there when it's not really there.
What about Selma? Would you like to share what you think you'd like to share with other startups that are in your sector or not necessarily?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Learnings, then.
yeah, definitely. So I mean, the learnings are very clear to us actually, because as I mentioned, having the product market fit is not just having the idea and making sure that this concept will work. You have to test it, you have to co-create it, you have to make sure that the usability is there, and don't underestimate the usability, and don't think that it will suffice. You have to actually, when we say pilot, it actually needs to be a proper pilot where you're going into the whole process with openness to change it and to modify as you go. And another thing would be have a very clear plan on how are you going to scale up and not just start up. And because this will put you in the right direction and will put you in the right mindset from day one. Because as a startup, you will be presented with a lot of opportunities, and in reality, the opportunities that you take will shape your growth later on. So you have to be very clear from day one on where do you want to be, what's the roadmap that you have, even if it's a very high level one, but you have to be working towards that. One more thing actually would be to take up to take up angel investors, and I actually would like to use this opportunity to from my part and as a startup to actually thank Cairo Angels and give credit when credit is due, because it went both ways, right? It wasn't I'm glad to know that we are a good investment to them, but on the other hand, it was Cairo Angels were actually the first investors in Fatura. And besides the investments and besides the money aspect of it, actually the guidance and the support that we had at a very early on stage was very much needed, right? And was very on the spot. We actually have, through Cairo Angels, it's on our cap table, it's just one investor, correct? But we have more than 18 actually angel investors. So we have more than 18 investors, which means that we tapped into the network of 18 different investors. We a lot of them come back to us with business opportunities, with recommendations, with insights, with feedback on how everything's going. And as an angel in general, I think they're more focused on the seed phase. But in reality, Cairo Angels supported us in our seed, in our pre-Series A, and actually some of the current investors or the current angels within their network are willing to double down in Series A. And it just shows the commitment. It just reflects the process that Cairo Angels take in reality, in not only in choosing the startups, but in choosing the investors within their network as well. So yeah, I just needed to use this opportunity to thank Cairo Angels.
Sherine, I think you're on mute.
You're on mute.
So I think that's great, and it's very important to mention, because there are different routes that startups can take, and tapping into a network, of course, has its benefits, because you're, like you said, you're getting the access to larger numbers, more than one person, if you're going through the angel investment route as a start. So of course the network has its benefits, and I'm sure Cairo Angels has been a great partner. So guys, we're coming close to the end. We're not yet there, but in your opinion, Salma, again, because we're here to focus on you as a success story, and of course with the backing and the experience of the Cairo Angels network, what would you say was the one thing that really kept you going through all the dark and long nights? The challenges, which we haven't really touched a lot on, but because it's usually the typical question people ask, and I just wanted to focus more on the constructive and the learnings. What would you say was the one thing that kept you going? As an individual and as a company?
I mean, there's I think this line hasn't been yet drawn in that to answer this question. But I mean, okay, so as an individual, it's
let's face it, setting up a startup is not an easy feat. I mean, it's something that you have long days and long nights, and you don't sleep, and it's like you're nurturing a newborn baby, and it takes all the attention and energy and all that. So that being said, what is the thing that kept you going as an individual and part of founding this wonderful operation? And then as a company, you've struggled and faced a lot of difficulties, I'm sure. But what was something that kept you going? If you don't like the question, we'll try to reword it, but think of it.
No. Relax. No, not at all. The question is really spot on, and if anything, it's I'm genuinely trying to think about it to pin it down to one thing, but I think if I would pin it down to one thing, it's actually our belief, and by our I mean every single employee in the organization, in the idea, our belief in Fatura, and our we actually did 100% believe that there's this need in the market. We believed so much that we were doing the right thing by through the enablement. The impact that we see every single day, it keeps us going till now. So when we talk to wholesalers, and wholesalers say, I'm Fatura. I am the one who put up the first sign for Fatura. I'm the one who did this. This is actually this keeps us going, right? Because you see the impact that you're doing, and it affects people's lives. It's not just an impact. It's not an imaginary one. It's not a fluffy one. You're actually seeing wholesalers opening up new warehouses, buying new cars because of you and because of the demand you're bringing up. You see retailers not only counting on you, they're giving each other tips and tricks on how to use Fatura and how to make it to get the best use out of it, referring to you as their Google because you're their pulse of the market. They open up Fatura to see what's out there. They open up Fatura to know that they no longer will be fooled because of their limited network. They see the whole market. So it's basically the impact that you bring to everyone in the cycle, and the impact that you have on the market overall. This keeps us going. Really, it does, because it's just every now and then you need a reminder that there's
It's worth it.
Yes, all this effort.
Exactly what I was feeling from what you were saying from the beginning, but that's why I asked that question, and I felt that that's what you were that's what you're bringing to the market, actually, besides it being a new idea and facilitating business and as many other things. But
100%.
actually, it is life changing. You're changing the lives of how people do business in their sector, how things are moving, how payments are being made more easily. So for sure, it is impact investment in its own way. So for sure, I'm glad you said that.
Thank you. It is getting those.
So we're almost there. I think we have a couple more minutes. If we have questions coming in, maybe Brett will let us know if there are any questions from the audience. And if not, we can wrap up and see if you'd like to add one last word before we leave this lovely panel and stage.
Thank you, Sherine. I don't have direct access, so we'll just round it off. If Salma and Abdelrahman, you want to share one last sentence of inspiration or thanks or gratitude or anything, go. Salma, I'll start with you, and we'll round off with Abdelrahman.
Well, I mean, I would like to thank you all I would like to thank Vested for this summit. Actually, it's been very insightful. Abdelrahman, thank you because of Cairo Angels. Sherine, thank you so much for asking the tough questions, right? It's not the typical let's pitch Fatura kind of thing. It's more of the personal challenges and motivations. So it was actually very inspiring. Thank you all so much for an epic summit altogether.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Salma. Thank you, Sherine. Thank you, Brett. It was an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Salma, for your kind words. Wallah, it's an honor to be in the same panel as you and to have gotten to know you. Brett, thank you for hosting this awesome summit and giving us the opportunity to share our experiences together.
Thank you, Salma of Fatura and Abdelrahman of Cairo Angels. And thank you, Vested Summit, for hosting this inspiring panel and very informative. I am sure it was useful for many of our viewers. And once again, Scale Up Ventures brings to us Vested Summit, a really unique opportunity, bringing amazing minds and topics to the region.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your personal stories. Salma was quite moved by your honesty and your like really considering the questions that were being asked. I think this is, as I mentioned coming in, this is much more than a talking head forum. This is an example of a global, I call it, my words, community of practice. We're doing research and development together, and um, conscious tech really could be social technologies, spiritual technologies, emotional technologies. So how we invest and what we invest in is really important as we shift our minds. We shift the landscape and how people even perceive investment. So I was really moved by you to thanking, Cairo Angels, and pointing out that they did all the kind of check the boxes of your normal metrics and things that are important for that. But they also, like you said, provided guidance and nourishment. And really, we're all investors, aren't we? We're all investors in planet Earth. So for me, the new transcendent next move or evolutionary step is really the global economy and the global landscape of innovators and investors really seeing themselves more as a family, in a sense, like we're all citizens of planet Earth. So I was very excited about you talking about co-creation, Salman, taking the iterative nature of software into even the social process, right? So things are changing a lot, and I really found it wonderful. And I can feel your happiness, Abdul, to be part of that process and help dreams come true. So thank you so much. And this kind of leads to the next panel. If people would like to tune in, we're going to shift to the theme of global ecosystems. So it's again, how does the ecosystem, how does all of the different skills and gifts come together, to see investment? Because we're all trying to make the planet a more beautiful place. I think no matter what culture we come from or what our passions are, we all want to be happy. So thank you very much for your time.
So
Really
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Brett.